I can't tell whether it's being recorded or not. Oh my God, this stupid thing. Oh, okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Outwitting the Manipulator. I am Robin Golinski with Dr. Dennis Becker. Today, we're going to talk about a couple of tactics that manipulators use. So the first one, we're going to talk about word use, the way they use words, the words they choose, the way they deliver those words, and how that can be very manipulative. In addition to that, we're going to explain how they can non-verbally send you signals of approval and disapproval, thereby controlling you and making you feel a certain way. Although you're choosing to feel that way, you're allowing the feelings if you listen to the last episode. But we're going to say for now that the whole point is controlling your emotions.
Yeah.
So the intention the manipulator has is to control that momentum of the moment to cause you to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
All right.
That's always their intent, right? To control
it's
you.
always there. The
Absolutely.
intent never changes. The intent never changes. So, and that's a good thing because now you can be very clear that the intent does not change. Although they'll make you try to believe they have different intention.
Oh my goodness, they're good at that too. Well, this is why we wrote the book, folks, because and in the book we identified the 24 most commonly used tactics that manipulators use. And then, of course, techniques for you to protect yourself. But today we're focusing on the two that Robin said. And these are two of the most insidious. These are there almost all the time.
All the time.
Oh my goodness.
I would say, Dennis, that is so true that I would challenge to say that they're ever not there. With a true manipulator, I don't think they're ever not there.
Yeah, well, the closest we come to not there is when they're using context.
When they're sleeping.
When they're sleeping. Yeah.
Even when they're using context.
Context.
As long as they're engaging with you.
They're doing it. They're communicating with you. Yeah. We always say you cannot not communicate.
That's right.
So true. All right, let's talk about these two. Let's talk about these two. It's not two different ones, but we're kind of blend them together because your manipulator blends these things together. Here's another word that we use. They conflate things. Conflation is in and of itself a tactic. So word choice, tone, inflection, language, and nonverbals, all sort of part of a communication, but let's break them down. So let's talk first of all about word choice, language, tone, inflection. What does all of that mean? Those are words in there that some folks may not be familiar with. What do you take from that, Robin? What can we give folks to think about for that?
I have to say that word choice is huge in manipulation. So the word that I use. So if I say, well, he lumbered into the meeting. She dragged herself along, she walked.
Yeah.
Or she arrived is different. So it's so fun to play with those words because the words, if you have a repertoire of a lot of different words, you can really affect somebody deeply.
They all carry a different or create a different image, which is what the manipulator is trying to do. Give a particular.
So I don't have to call you fat or clumsy, Dennis. I could just say you lumbered in.
Yeah, right.
That just gives an image.
It's an image of lumbering and fat and who knows what all. So word choice is really, really not only important, but it's invaluable to a manipulator. They think about this, by the way, very carefully. They don't just suddenly just pop them out. Most people, we sort of say what comes to our mind, but with a manipulator, they think it through sometimes a day, a week ahead of time. When I get to this meeting, I'm going to say, blah, 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 blah. They think that stuff through, believe it or not, and they choose a particular, they may make it sound like it comes out, unexpected and impromptu, but they think about it. They choose it carefully, and then they use it at the appropriate time. So word choice, the use of language is really important to them.
Typically, they've done their reconnaissance in the love bombing stage. Now, when I say love bombing, it doesn't necessarily have to be a love relationship. Like a boyfriend girlfriend situation.
Yeah.
Love bombing can happen with a boss. Love bombing can happen with a new friend. Love bombing can happen with a mother or a sibling. So
Yeah.
the love bombing stage is, and it's not that the love bombing stage, don't think linearly, like, oh, it's always love bombing and then it moves on. You could be love bomb at any point in the relationship. It's an
Yeah.
up and down roller coaster.
Yeah.
But in the love bombing stage, which will happen over and over again, where your best friend makes you feel so good and comfortable, and really more importantly, safe.
Yeah.
They give you a feeling of safety when they're love bombing you, so that you will confide in them, reveal to them what your dark secrets are, what your worst fears are, what your deep insecurities are, and they just tuck that away for later. And here's how it comes out. It comes out with this word choice, the way they use the word, and it'll strike in 5 words or less.
They will know exactly what, because they figured it out during the love bombing stage.
Yes.
They saw you, they heard you, the way you reacted, responded, tuck that away, and at an appropriate time, they bring it back, like Robin said.
So let's say, for example, you felt safe and warm and fuzzy, and you're in this lovely, deep sharing kind of conversation, and they're sharing stuff with you, although I guarantee you that's all contrived and just meant to lure you in deeper. But let's say you share a vulnerability like, I'm so embarrassed about my singing voice. I can't sing. I love to sing, but I'm just so embarrassed because I can't sing. Oh, that can't be true. You probably sound great. And they may even catch you singing and say, okay, that's not so bad. But then they wait until a moment of vulnerability.
Yeah, later.
And it can be so insidious and subtle.
And it's also, here's another one. It's also conflated with things like public humiliation. They'll do it when other people are around because they know it embarrasses you.
Yes.
They're so good at word choice like that. So anyway, this is what language is all about. Now, Robin instinctively demonstrated something else there when she talked about the words and the words that were chosen. And the word lumbered, for example, if you say word lumbered, she lumbered into the room. She lumbered into the room. But Robin demonstrated something else when she said she lumbered. They made the sound of lumbering.
The delivery.
Not exactly like Robin, but the point is they can take any word and diddle with it so that it becomes more meaningful with techniques that sometimes we call duration. Like if I say something, I drag the sound. She's they drag it out. They use the word and then just use duration to give it even more power. So you can use things like duration or something like volume. Well, she was very upset. Whoa, the volume goes, or make it secret. She was very upset about it. Make it also use the word very, just very, but very, duration, volume, all these things. And then the final one we should talk about, Robin, is inflection. Now, this is a hard one. This is a hard one for you to hear. Let's see if we can demonstrate this. Inflection, if you don't know, is what you do with a sentence or the sound of the sentence and the meaning of it. And it either goes straight or it goes down or it goes up at the end of a sentence. So if I say to you, Robin, you want to give a demonstration? You want to try it?
She had an affair with him.
Okay. Now, make it go up. Now, up inflection.
She had an affair with him?
Oh, like it's uncertain, unsure.
Or like disgust. I could show disgust in my face in combination.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Him?
Yeah. We'll get to that.
On the podcast, you can't see me, but I'm wincing.
Yeah. Or inflection, so you can go straight down or up. She had an affair with him, period. Statement of fact. She had an affair with him. A stronger statement of fact. She had an affair with him? up it goes. It can go one of three ways, and they will use all three depending on the mood, the control they're trying to get in the momentum of the moment they're interacting with you.
So that when you have a conversation with them, you could have a very short conversation with a manipulative person, say 30, 60 seconds. You find yourself feeling, you find these emotions bubbling up in you.
Icky
Feelings like
Yeah.
uncomfortable. All of a sudden you're jealous. All of a sudden you're self-conscious. All of a sudden you're just worried about something that you weren't worried about before.
Oh,
Guarantee you that this is how it happened. You weren't necessarily aware of it because it's so insidious. So the words they're using, the way they're delivering it, and they say something to you. Maybe you just met them at the bar at the employee Christmas party, and you just got a drink, and they said one sentence to you, and it derails you. If you go back and analyze that, you'll start to see you'll start to operationalize what they did.
In the moment, it's hard to do that.
Yes, it is
They
hard.
make it
It's very hard.
You know, at a party, for example, they make it feel so congenial, so warm, so friendly, and they know darn well that it's hitting you in a particular way. Well, if it does, then they're having a success. So what
Yes.
we want you to do is to be aware of the impact that word choice, inflection, volume, speed, duration, all these things we talked about, how those things affect the way that thought is being delivered, and then ultimately, of course, the way you're receiving it. So there's
Yes.
a big choice that they have there, and they use all of those things.
It's easier to be in control of the emotions, I think. It's easier for you to realize that you can control the emotions when you start to analyze, take a step back and analyze what word they chose and how they delivered it.
And you have these tools that we just gave you to analyze that. What was the inflection? Did it go up or whatever? Oh, did it go down? What was the inflection? How loud was it? Was it sort of personalized? Did they use duration? What? These are the tools that you use to decide these things, folks. Now, it's true, I think, Robin, that most people sort of unknowingly judge that. Yeah, he said it, but I don't like the way he said it. Well, when people say that, somehow they've evaluated the person's inflection or speed or whatever, but they don't really know what it is. We're telling you what kinds of things you can use to judge whether or not that remark seems to be authentic, real, valued, or manipulative, or all of the above. Could
No,
be
it's
all of
not
it.
all of the above. It's not
Not at once.
authentic.
No, that's true. Not
And
all at once.
no, but I will say that
Any of the above. Go
this is
ahead.
where their plausible deniability lives.
Oh, yeah.
It lives in the nuanced, it's almost like you could even have witnesses. You need to have witnesses there actually to validate your experience, because after the fact they'll say, oh, I didn't say it like that.
I didn't
I
mean
didn't.
that.
Why did you take it like that?
Oh.
They will gaslight you into thinking there's something wrong with you. You're my favorite. You're overly sensitive.
Yeah.
You're overly sensitive. Oh my goodness, you're so sensitive. Or you have such a false sense of self-importance. What makes you think we were all talking about you? Or what makes
Oh
you think
my
we were all,
gosh. Now,
yeah,
if we
and
could hit a
really
pause
make you
button here
feel.
right now, but hit a pause button with Robin right now, because think of what she just did. She just demonstrated a conflation of several different tactics, not just the word choice and the use of the word, but she's dictating feelings. She's blaming you. All
Yeah.
these are separate tactics that can
Hurt and
conflate into
rescue.
one thing. Yeah, that's right. All at the same time. This is hard, folks. We
Yeah.
know that. We know it's hard. But that's why, in our book, for example, we take these each one separately, blame and dictating feelings and word choice. We take each one separately and look at them separately and tell you how to deal with them and what to do with it. But they do not come one at a time.
No, they don't. And the harder part is you cannot let it slide.
No.
Letting it slide
Yep. Yep.
feels like the easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Feels like, but letting it slide, you can let it slide with someone who's a stranger that you're never going to
Yeah.
see again.
Yeah.
But you do not want to let this slide with someone you have to engage with on a regular basis,
Mm-mm.
because
Mm-mm.
letting it slide, overlooking it, letting it go, whatever phrase you want to use,
Becomes
is
agreement.
rewarding the behavior. And what happens when you
Yep.
reward the behavior is you will get more of the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do, Dennis?
Yeah. Okay. So remember, we've talked about, for those of you who have been with us for a while, we've talked repeatedly about ethos, pathos, and logos, the three ways in which manipulators can be dealt with, the way they're dealing with you and the way you can deal with them. And we've explained that if your manipulator is the type of person who adheres to ethos, they think they're really hot stuff. You know who I am, that sort of a person. If you get that sort of a person and they give you this thing with word choice and so forth, you can say something very credible, like use your inflection straight. And you say, it's interesting. You're usually so good with words, and you've said some things that I totally don't understand. Plain, simple,
Or I
no
don't agree
emotion.
with.
Yeah. If you're dealing with a person who's a pathos person, a very emotional person, your manipulator, you say something wording similar, but listen and watch to the delivery. You must feel pretty good about yourself to be able to say that, because I don't know what you're talking about, how that came to be. See my whole delivery, the sound, the words.
Or you must feel
Similar?
pretty bad about yourself
Yeah, similar.
to speak that way.
But if it's a pathos person, your delivery should be more, can be more emotional. Okay. Now, if you're dealing with a logos person, logical, straightforward, like to think of themselves as efficient and making decisions, you say, you know, you sound somewhat irrational and ineffective when you say things like that.
They won't like that at all.
Whoa, whoa. No, because that's the last thing they want to do, is to be
That's the
perceived
idea.
ineffective.
Don't,
But that's right. That's the idea. You're defending yourself. It's a technique that you can use against a manipulator who's like that. There
you're
are
putting them
ways.
on notice that you recognize the manipulation. That's the key. It's not that you're curing them, changing them.
No.
You're letting them know I'm smart and I'm paying attention.
Yep. That's the key. You're letting them know.
Yeah.
Now, the words, they may fight back at you, they argue back at you, but believe me, they will take notice of the fact that you've said something like that, that you have noticed something that they've tried to do. You've noticed it and you've responded to it. Doesn't mean they'll quit, go away. No, they'll use something else that, like Robin said, oh, you're so sensitive, or they'll use something else. Okay. But this will help you put them on notice, and that's the key. You see, manipulators don't want to work hard. If you put them on notice, so to speak, often enough, with enough of their different tactics, guess what? They'll go away.
I got a response for you're overly sensitive.
They'll go away. They don't want to work hard. They'll go for a target who's easier. What's your response to sensitivity?
I value my sensitivity. It's what allows me to identify the nuanced manipulation in your communication.
Oh boy. Spam. Strike one. Strike three. That's pretty direct. That's okay. But look, that's good. It's a good
Well,
one.
it may be too direct for some people's comfort level.
Oh, but
And but this is where we go back to the mindset.
yeah.
If you don't put them on notice, you
Yeah.
are going to
Yeah.
exponentially increase the behavior.
Yeah.
So if you can get outside of that mindset that I'm being confrontational and think
Yeah.
I'm not being
No.
the key is being succinct, very succinct.
Yes, that's true. All the examples I gave you should be like a sentence or so, not
And they
long.
won't like it and they
No.
will escalate, but the escalation is your success.
Aha.
The fact that they're
Yes.
escalating it means
You got
they
them. Get
got
it.
the memo.
Yep.
They got the memo.
Yep. That's good. Succinct, to the point, addressed according to the decisions you've made about their style, ethos, pathos, logos. They will get it. And the more they get it, the less they will come after you.
The less they'll like it.
Yeah, they won't like it. It's all
They
right.
won't like it. but they
Okay.
will also hopefully stop targeting you.
And here's something else that goes along with what we've been saying. They will not only, almost always, I mean, sometimes you can't do it on the phone, it's by text or whatever. They will accompany that with nonverbal behaviors, not words, no language, no sound, no duration, no volume, none of that. They accompany those things with and sometimes it is a nonverbal behavior. Something comes up in a conversation and people are talking about it or something, whatever. And you'll notice that your manipulator does something physical, not verbal, something, a different kind of physical. Verbal's physical, but different. They'll squint. Robin mentioned that a moment ago. You squint.
They'll roll their eyes.
They'll roll their eye. They'll
They'll
raise
sigh
their eyebrow.
heavily.
They'll tilt their head.
Or
They'll
they'll
shake
turn their
head.
body away from you just to send you the
Ooh.
signal that you're not important.
Yeah.
Very subtle. Or they'll just stop making eye contact with you, or they'll only make eye contact with you.
Exactly.
There's so many ways, infinite number of ways that non-verbally, and this is where you'll start, your spidey sense will kick in and you'll say, I don't know what it is, but every time I'm around so-and-so, I don't feel good. I feel uncomfortable. I feel self-conscious. I say, I just feel like I can't. Well, it's usually because that stuff is happening. So you want to analyze those situations.
And write it in your notes. How many times? 100 times have we said that? Keep a notebook. Write it down in your notebook. Later on when you get home, just write it down. Made me feel so-and-so. Did such and such. There will be a pattern.
Yeah.
Manipulators fall into patterns.
The sooner you identify the pattern, the sooner you'll be able to control the momentum of the moment.
Here's a physical thing that's a little bit different. That actually, well, it may or may not make you feel icky. Sometimes they will actually, instead of making a face or whatever, they'll touch you, touch your shoulder, touch your hand, not say anything. Now, this is a different approach. We've been giving you the impression that the manipulator will be mean or nasty or saying something that's insulting. And if they see a reaction in you, and if they get the kind of reaction we suggested that you give, they'll try a different tactic, such as touch. Oh, I'm so sorry.
The love bombing touch.
That's right. I didn't mean that. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Or how about a pat, 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 pat?
Oh, yeah, just touch.
Everything's okay.
Yeah.
You can calm down.
Yeah. Those are physical, nonverbal things.
Minimizing your feelings through touch.
Yep. So, and believe me, they combine these things. They'll say stuff and do things at the same time. And as you recognize these things, and like Robin said, they make you feel icky or uncomfortable. Try to do the techniques that we're suggesting, and remember to write it in your notes. Make a note of it, how it made you feel. And you'll see that.
Oh, and you brought up one, Dennis, before we got on the podcast, about them moving physically into your space.
Oh,
so the distance that they stand from you.
Oh, yeah.
That can be used both for positive and negative, but for manipulation.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes when, a person is feeling sad about something, your instinct might be to move towards them and say, give them that kind of a comforting entry into their zone of discomfort. Manipulators do this all the time, no matter what's going on. They'll just take a step closer to you. Maybe they say something, but the closeness gives it intensity in their mind, and in yours too, if you're not in control of it. The closeness, the proximity.
So I'm just thinking about the handshake. Remember the handshake? The guys, typically it's men who'll do it. Well, they'll twist their hands so their hand's on top when they shake another man's hand.
Yeah.
Or squeeze too hard. So all this subtle messaging that maybe the guy was overly eager and enthusiastic and he squeezed your hand too hard. So you don't want to say every time somebody squeezes your hand too hard, they're trying to dominate you. That's why we say you have to look for the pattern. It's that action in combination with a bunch of other actions where you can say, okay, that's manipulative, not just the one-off.
Remember not too long ago, we had a a well-known politician who was in the news all the time and was going to meetings with all kind of dignitaries from around the world. And the video, of course, would show, it was show him meeting the foreign dignitary. And we noticed that every time he shook hands, he pulled the person towards him, got the hand and pulled. It might have only been like 6, 8 inches, but he pulled I control this relationship. I control you. And if you
It's
didn't
loud
want
and
to,
clear.
you just go with it. You just go with it. This is another, maybe he didn't, maybe he said nice, maybe he said nothing.
Or the person who holds your hand too long and clasps their other hand over the
Oh, yeah.
top of it,
Oh, that's
which
a very
basically
common one.
says, I've got you.
I've got you. Yeah.
I've got you. You're going nowhere.
They'd like you to
It might
think,
be 5 seconds, but
and they'd like you to think, I'm with you. I'm with you. We're together on this.
it could
That's
mean that.
Yeah,
This is
that's
why the
intent.
pattern's important. The pattern's important. Don't take one of these things and say that means that.
No.
Life
Right.
is not black and white when you're dealing with humans. It's very complex.
Yeah. And manipulators, believe it or not, are human. We hate to admit that, but they are human.
Barely. Yeah, they are human.
And they're very good about understanding human behavior and emotions
Yes.
and receptivity and all of that stuff.
And we
That's
want you
why
to
we're
be
here.
just as good at it, just as good at it. That
Yeah.
is how you will protect yourself.
And they don't want you to be that good. They don't want you to be that aware even.
Yes.
It's really true, folks. We are telling you, the more you are aware, and the more they know you are aware. You don't have to be always winning sides. You don't have to be always identifying everything.
Yeah.
But the more you are aware of it, even if you don't know what to do about it, the more you're aware of it and you call it out and you point it out, they will take note of that as well. They don't want you to be aware. They just want to slide it in, do it, control the momentum of the moment in which it happens. They don't want you to be aware. Eventually, the more aware you get, you become, the less they want to deal with you.
And they don't want you to make others aware of it. So if, let's say, you're identifying the manipulation in someone who's close to you, the fact that they're being coercively controlled, and you're starting to recognize that, and you're starting to advocate for that person or identify the manipulation, I promise you that manipulator will make sure that you are cut out of their target's life. They will launch a campaign behind the scenes to completely exorcise you from their target's life because it's making their work too hard.
Yeah. Now let's just give one slight caveat to all of this. Just because you see someone who is having it, you see someone who's having a difficult time, result of bad news, maybe a death in the family, maybe something sad that's happened in their life. And you move towards that person, and maybe it's somebody you know well enough that you can do this, or maybe not. Sometimes it's a stranger on the street who you see has been a fire at their house and they're out on the sidewalk. Your instinct is to go and give them a hug and to let them know that they're not alone. That is not manipulation. We're talking about, remember, manipulation carries with it a nefarious intent. When you do that to someone, we're not calling you a manipulator. You don't have to be feeling that they're going to think you're manipulating them. Yeah, okay, you want to stretch the meaning. Maybe you're manipulating. You're trying to help them make them feel better. Okay, go that way. That's not what we're talking about. That kind of physical contact. I just had a granddaughter visiting with me recently. She came running over, give me a big hug. So I hugged her back. Am I manipulating her? No,
Well, Dennis, I don't even think that needs to be said.
Well, I wanted to
like
say it because
you're
I thought
stating the obvious. Like,
yeah, well,
I
yeah.
don't know, unless you feel like your guilty conscience needs airing. Like,
Guilty conscience, but I think.
well, I mean, that's obvious. I mean, we're not.
It's obvious to us, but I don't want people to make that
Manipulators
mistake.
take normal human behaviors and use them for their own gain. Yes, that is what they do. That has nothing to do with you hugging your granddaughter.
No, I know. It has to do with nefarious is the key word. I realize that. All right. Well, maybe we have talked about this enough so that now we're getting into some topics that are good for another episode, perhaps. But anyway, today we talked about word choice, language, inflection, the importance of feeling and identifying patterns, the use of nonverbal behaviors, facial expression, touching, proximity, all of these kind of things that we've been talking about today as ways for you to both identify a manipulative
A
tactic
pattern.
and a pattern, and then to deal with it,
Yeah.
protect yourself. These
Take it
things work,
all
folks.
together to
Yep,
build your case, not
yep,
one off thing that happens.
that's right. So take your time, identify them, practice these things. And look, Robin, if they want to get in touch with us for practice, what do they do?
Outwittinrealtime.com.
That's where we are. We'll be happy to meet with you, talk with you separately, maybe invite you to one of the workshops that we're doing. So outwittinrealtime.com. That's where you'll find us. And the us is
Robin
Robin
Golinski.
Golinski. And I'm Dr. Dennis Becker. Thanks so much for being with us. Bye for now.